What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to the next adventure of the PlayStation Drive. This is the 86th episode, and we're just going to roll right on through it. My name is Matt, and I'll be your host for this wonderful Adventures events. I'm joined, as always, of the past. Coming back to talk all things Blue Box, we have Mr. Ryan Turford. What's up, Ryan?
Yo, yo, yo. Thank you so much for having me back on the show, Matt. It's good to be back. It's good to be back on my true home, the PlayStation Drive. Although I shouldn't say that because Xbox Drive also my true home too.
No. It's been said.
Called out.
It's been said. True home, the PlayStation Drive. Everybody else, you feel that. That's right. And we're joined.
I don't like the fact that I said that because Seth is here too, and I know he can make shorts. But anyways, introduce Seth.
Well, we have the shorts master himself, the $2 hero, Seth, joining us on the PlayStation Drive for the very first time. Welcome.
First time. Hey, thanks. I'm excited to be rocking in PlayStation land, man. Excited to be hanging out with you and Ryan. This never happens, man.
I know.
I get to hang out with both of y'all. This is sick. I get to make out of context shorts out of everything.
There you go. Awesome. We have an incredible team up here with the three of us, and I'm very, very excited to get into all things PlayStation because on this week's episode, we're going to be talking about The Last of Us selling like crazy, PSVR2 Launch Line Up, Marvel's Avengers, and a whole lot more. So strap in. But before we do all of that, we of course need to do a quick cleaning of the garage, because if you're watching us live on youtube.com/carpoolgaming right now, make sure you like, subscribe, share, hit that bell so you're notified. Please leave comments. Comments are great. They help us grow, and we appreciate them very, very much. If you are listening to us on your podcast service of choice, make sure you please hit us with that 5 stars, leave us the reviews, and when Court and I remember, we'll read them out on the show. And of course, if you have an extra couple bucks to toss our way, head over to patreon.com/carpoolgaming. Toss bucks in. Out comes a cornucopia of content for you to consume, which is always a good time. Now, without further ado, usually I like to kind of ramble on as I think about something, a way to introduce a concept of which some may think of taking a whole bunch of different things and putting them together into one localized place where they talk about the things we've listened to, the things we've watched, the things we've played. And I'm going to start with you, Ryan. What's been on your playlist lately?
What's been on my playlist? Oh man. So first of all, we're not on a Nintendo show, so I can't talk about Fire Emblem Engage because I've been playing that a lot. I mean, that's kind of been occupying my time pretty much since Friday.
That's okay. Talk about Fire Emblem Engage, dude. Why are you liking it?
It's a strategy RPG, which people know I love, and it's really fun. And I mean, when you put those two things together, it makes a fun game. No, I mean, I've always been a big Fire Emblem fan, going all the way back to the GBA days. So, I mean, anytime a new Fire Emblem game comes out, I mean, it's one of my favorite franchises from Nintendo, let alone across all platforms. So I always get super excited when there's a new one released, and Engage is pretty darn good. So again, we'll save for that's a Nintendo Drive thing. We'll let Seth and Lachlan and Sean talk about that tomorrow. But otherwise, I've been playing a lot of Final Fantasy 14, which may shock Matt because me play Final Fantasy 14. That would never happen at all, ever.
I am flabbergasted.
Yeah, I'm playing through more Final Fantasy 14. Me and my girlfriend are actually playing through the game with new characters together because she's never played it before. So she's getting to experience the amazing story that is Final Fantasy 14. So that's been really fun. We've been playing that a lot together. And then I jumped into a little bit, not a ton of, but a little bit of Persona 3 Portable this week as well, because it just got re-released this week. And of course the modern version plays exactly how you would expect it to play, because it pretty much is just a 1-for-1 port of the PSP or the version that was on Vita that you could play. But it's more Persona 3 Portable. I do really want to play through it again because I love Persona 3, especially before the remake, in quotations, comes out, assuming the remake is actually real. But those are the things I've been playing. So not diving too much into things because, again, I'm so invested in Fire Emblem, but also I don't want to start anything else because Dead Space is coming out this week as well on the 25th. And I'm like chomping at the bit to play that game because I love Dead Space. It's one of my all-time favorite games. So I'm very excited for the remake.
Well, also, if you were curious about Ryan and I's thoughts about Persona 3 Portable and what about the rumored remake and so much more, make sure you go check out the last episode of the RPG Cave, where Ryan and I do that for over an hour. So go check that out. But I'm glad you're enjoying it, Ryan. And I have to say, the fact that you've got your partner in on Final Fantasy 14 is just a testament to your ability to convince people to play this game. I'm so proud of you and I'm so happy for you. I hope your journey together in. How deep are you into the game together? Like, where are you? Are you in A Realm Reborn? Are you working your way through there?
Well, we just started this week, so we're still Realm Reborn. We're
it?
still only we're still barely out of New Gridania at this point, where our characters are level 20 at this point and getting ready to do our first dungeon.
I thought you would have been in Shadowbringers for sure.
We can only do that. I only have so much time to play in 4 days, Matt. Okay.
Wow.
Look,
Well, I guess you're not the Final Fantasy 14 fan. I thought you were, Ryan. That's all I'm going to say.
Yeah, even don't count at the fact that Realm Reborn takes 60 hours, Matt.
No.
On its own.
Listen, we're not here for logic, okay? When people come to the PlayStation Drive, they're not looking for rational, logistical explanations to things, okay? Time is a concept.
I mean, you're not wrong. You're not wrong.
What about you, Seth? What have you been
Speaking
playing
of
lately?
foreign language. Y'all are speaking of foreign language right now. We're talking about Shadowbring. I'm like, what is happening right now?
I didn't know I was supposed to bring my own shadow to this show.
Yeah, did I need to bring a shadow? So 2 things. First of all, hashtag justice for Chie. Second, I do want to say, out of the stuff I've been playing, the game that I want to talk about that is on PlayStation is A Space for the Unbound.
Yes.
Which is so good, and I really like it. And this is made by an Indonesian studio called Mojiken Studio, who previously did a game called When the Past Was Around, which I also love. And it's this little indie game where you play as a guy who can jump into people's minds. So it's a little bit like 2D pixel art, 90s nostalgic Indonesian Psychonauts almost. And you're basically going into their minds and helping solve their problems. And there's a little bit of like a story between what's going on with your girlfriend, who seems to have like supernatural powers. The writing's really good. There's a lot of like little, Easter eggs and references to not only other Mojiken games, but also like there's a total Ace Attorney like section in the game. And yeah, it's like super fun. I really like it. And it's actually way longer than I thought it would be too. A lot of times, because I've played a lot of games from this studio and Toge Productions and Coffee Talk, they're kind of known for and stuff. And they're usually pretty short experiences, but this one, I'm like 6 hours into it already. I'm still it's like a pretty meaty experience. So A Space for the Unbound, definitely check it out.
I played the demo. I think it was like one of the Steam Fests they did back last year.
The prologue.
Yeah, and I was blown away. Like, it was beautiful. Like, it gave me, for anybody who's for anybody who's watched like Your Name, it gave me that same kind of vibe. It's almost like a melancholy, but kind of like there's a really, really cool environment to it, and it was like beautifully put together. And yeah,
Gorgeous.
I saw the reviews coming out, and they were like startling. Everybody's celebrating this game, so it's definitely on my list, because it was on my list after the demo came out, and I just want to hop in and play it because it looks incredible. So I'm glad you're enjoying it so far, Seth. Because and thank you for reminding me about it, because yeah, it's easy to get lost in the shuffle of it all. So I'm gonna be picking that up for sure.
Don't sleep on it, man. Good game.
Yeah, I'm going to. Well, I'm not going to sleep on it. I'm going to play it. As for myself, I have been playing One Piece Odyssey, continuing my time with it. I'm still only about like 5 or 6 hours in, but I'm really enjoying it so far. I think like the twist on the combat with them having like different zones that you have to fight in within the turn-based combat is pretty cool for like anybody who's unaware. When you get into a battle, like different enemies will be in different areas that'll like tie certain characters to that area. And once you defeat that enemy, you can move to a different section of the ongoing battle. So it really does capture that anime feel of like them fighting different enemies and those big brawls. Like, I think it kind of nails that very, very well. So far the game's good. Like, I'm enjoying it. It hasn't blown me away, but it hasn't bored me as of yet. Like, I'm gonna keep going with it, so I'm excited to keep going with that. And as we mentioned on the Last of Us show, I just re-downloaded The Last of Us Part 1, even though I just played it a few months ago. I think what I'm going to do is kind of do that play along with the show, essentially like play through whatever happens in the show. I'm going to play through that section in the game and kind of follow along over the course of the next couple months. Just because, like, again, I just played it recently, but who knows, maybe I'll go for that platinum, because of course we have our big old trophy competition going on in the PlayStation Drive Discord. So come join us in there if you want to get trophy-tastic and argue about, should My Name Is Mayo count or not, because believe me, those are on my list. If I'm going to get serious about this stuff, I'm coming for you, Trellish. But yeah, that's basically what I've been playing lately. I'm excited, like, with Dead Space right around the corner. I picked up Fire Emblem Engage as well, and Forspoken. The reviews came out today, and we'll see if I'm gonna hop in day one or not. But it's probably falling to a wait for sale. But we have so much news to talk about, my friends, and with a 3-man show, we have so much to digest and to really chew on together. So let's hop on over to a wonderful little transition, because we got our PlayStation VR2. We got some new titles and a launch lineup revealed. Of course, I'm pulling right from the PlayStation blog, as everyone can see on screen, because we got a whole bunch of stuff talking about. We got confirmation that the Gran Turismo 7 mod will be a full game mode. You will be able to play the entirety of the game in VR, which is really, really cool, before your eyes. And of course, for the launch lineup, some of these will be launching day and date. Some of them will be in the first month of them coming out. Before Your Eyes is a fantastic indie game, and one that I may revisit in VR, but I don't know how I'm going to handle playing that through that game crying the entire time, because that game is a very emotional experience. And it actually has a really cool feature, because if I played it on PC, and the way that it works is that every time you blink, time moves forward. So essentially, with the PSVR2's eye tracking, it's going to make that experience even cooler, because there's some scenes that, like, I would want it to stay in. I wanted to live in for a little bit longer, but I'm just like sitting there basically like trying like to not blink. Which is
Clockwork Orange.
Seriously, because I'm just like, I don't want to let this go. It's so beautiful. Kayak VR Mirage, which I've heard a lot about, a lot of great things. This is like a very chill kayak exploration game. Pavlov, which is basically Counter-Strike, but again, apparently awesome and a lot of fun. Puzzling Places, which seems to be a cute little puzzle game with 3D jigsaw puzzles. Song in the Smoke Rekindled. Synth Riders Remastered. Thumper, of course, coming back around. NFL Pro Era. What the Bat is a game I'm incredibly excited about, because it's you doing a bunch of stuff, but what if you had bats for hands? So
it's like the What the Golf sequel.
Exactly,
right?
Exactly that.
Yeah.
And then Res Infinite is getting a upgrade along with Tetris Effect Connected. Creed Rise to Glory. The Last Clockwinder, and of course we have a big ol' launch lineup here. So guys, I want to ask you, Ryan, I'm going to start with you. Is PSVR 2 a day one for you? Does the launch lineup do anything for you to push you in one direction or the other? How are you feeling about the games we know about so far?
So first of all, I think we've talked about it on previous shows, but I'm 100% day one on PSVR 2. It is happening, even though, I talked about the idea when Matt and I first started the PlayStation Drive. The idea that first PlayStation VR, gave me motion sickness pretty bad. But I think a lot of that just had to do with the technology at the time just wasn't as good with handling that stuff. So I'm willing to give, PSVR 2 a chance, because I really like playing games in VR. So as long as my body can survive through the experience, then I'm gonna have. I know I'm gonna have a great time with a lot of these games. Like, I'm looking at this launch lineup, and I think it's pretty strong. So I'm excited to jump into some of the stuff, even some of the stuff we didn't mention, like the Jurassic World game.
Yep.
I'm excited to check out Horizon, of course, Gran Turismo, because I'm a really big Gran Turismo fan. I'm actually really excited to play that in the whole game in VR. So, and of course, Resident Evil 8. I'm excited to play in VR as well. So there's a lot of good stuff coming for VR, and I'm actually really excited about it. I'm excited it's going to be here next month, like before we know it. Like, I can't believe we're only a month away at this point.
We're officially less than a month away, because today's the 23rd and it comes out the 22nd. So it is coming up upon us quick. And Ryan, yeah, you and I have talked about this, because I'm actually severely motion sick. I get motion sickness very easily as well. Some tips and tricks from my into getting into VR: if you can, play with a fan pointed at you. It actually helps a lot. And ginger, like I would buy these ginger candies that I'd snack on. Apparently, it helps a lot with motion sickness. And again, in the combination between those two, I was able to start building my VR legs pretty quick, because it will take time. It is a building experience. But Seth, I don't know how. Like, do you have much of a romance or an inclination towards VR? How do you feel about it?
Not really. I mean, I've had a couple of VR experiences that I've really enjoyed. Tetris Effect in VR is awesome. Like, it's amazing. Like, I played that at a friend's house, and man, like, that was like an emotional, like, I took the headset off and I was like crying. Like, I get so into just music. Matt, you and I have talked about this. Like, I just get really like wrapped up in it. That was incredible. I could imagine Res being awesome also in that same vein. But yeah, I'm not a big VR guy. This seems simpler, at least, because I remember PSVR 1 had a lot of like wires.
Yes.
So
Yeah.
I might look into it.
Yeah, this is definitely just a single wire now, which is much appreciated, given how messy of a setup the original PSVR was. But I'm very excited. I can't wait for this. We are coming up on it very, very soon. Ryan, let me ask you this then, because of course this is the one game that I think everybody's waiting to hear about. Do you think Half-Life Alyx is coming to PSVR 2? And do you think it's going to end up landing in this window? Do you think they're saving it for like a last minute announcement, or do you think it's not coming? What are your thoughts and feelings?
I think it'll be out before the end of the year, but it won't be a launch window thing. I think if it was gonna come in the launch window, like the first 3 months, we would have heard about it already. Because that's a big game and a big reason to get people to go out and buy the headset day one.
Yes.
And the fact that they haven't announced that yet just indicates to me that that's not coming out till the end of the year at the earliest.
But you do think it is
that's
coming?
That's how I feel about it. I 100% think it'll come at some point. But of course, I just don't know, obviously, the behind the scenes stuff with Valve and whether or not they want to put it on other devices. But I don't know. I feel like Sony's gonna probably went over there and is like, here's a bag of money. Please bring this over here. like they do with other exclusives that they work with. So
that would sell me.
Yeah,
that would sell me.
Would that be it?
That would sell me. Yeah, I've wanted to play Half-Life. I'm a huge Half-Life fan, and I've wanted to play that. So it's so cost prohibitive. Something that I think is kind of like undersold about PSVR is how affordable it is, considering especially if you're somebody who's already kind of in the PlayStation ecosystem. I think it'd be a really great way to play that game. And like if they got that and or Beat Saber, like that would sell me on it.
Yeah,
I'd be into it.
We do know Beat Saber is coming. Like that we do have confirmation that they are working on it. So I can't wait, because the original Beat Saber is one of my favorite PSVR games. So I'm excited for that. But yeah, I'm with you, Ryan. I think that could very easily be a great summer to fall game. Like I do think that it's probably close to finished if it isn't done already, that they might just be waiting to announce it. But I hope we do get more of that soon, because I did play some of it at a friend's house and really enjoyed my time with it, even though I don't really have a lot of love for the Half-Life universe. I've just never really played them. So I'd be curious to hop in and check that out, because of course that's the one that everybody's asking for. But I think this is a pretty solid launch lineup. I think within the first month, when all these hit, I think we're gonna have a lot to play over the course of the first month of the PSVR 2. I just hope we learn more about what's next soon. Because let's jump over to Returnal launching on PC on February 15th. We got confirmation that it is indeed coming, along with some PC features detailed that they'll be, we'll be able to jump into Atropos on February 15th. You'll have NVIDIA DLSS and AMD FSR adding in, allowing for, greater frame rate stuff, along with a bunch of, ray trace shadows. As before, Climax Studios have added in retraced reflections. And of course, we have the specs here. I, for one, really, really loved the original Returnal. I just don't know if I'm going to hop back in on PC. I may check it out and see if I could, I don't know if we have confirmation about the Steam Deck as of yet, but given its kind of roguelike nature, and I played this back on the PS5 when it initially came out, where, I was praying to all the gods that, my PS5 wouldn't go into rest mode and entirely wipe my save. I know things have gotten a lot better since then, but I don't know, Ryan, are you excited about Returnal on PC?
So before, I was not excited about it until I just bought a new PC. That's something we talked about on the Xbox Drive this week. I have a new computer now to play games on, and I'm looking for stuff to play on this thing. I'm looking to put it through its paces, and I think Returnal might be one of the games to do that. So I'm actually really eyeing this release a lot more than I was before I got my new computer. Because obviously my old computer was a laptop from 7 years ago that wasn't even a good computer when I bought it. So I actually I have a substantial upgrade here, and I know it'll run it based on what we estimate the system specs to be. So I think I want to actually try this out, because I also really liked Returnal as well on PS5, and I want to see how many frames we can get on PC. But I think the difference between this and a lot of other games that come to PC is just the PS5 version runs so well already that I feel like that unless you have like a super top of the line machine, you're probably not going to get more out of it than the PS5 would probably give you. So that's my only worry with it, because it's like, cool, I can play it at 60 frames on my PC, but I could already do that on my PS5.
Yeah, fair. Seth, what about you? Does this do anything for you?
I need to play it.
Yeah?
Yeah, I have it on PS5. I just haven't played it.
Okay.
I literally have owned it for like a year. and I got it on a sale, and I just haven't played it.
Okay.
So.
Well, let me know. I'm curious to hear your thoughts and feelings once you get to it. But yes, Returnal is coming to PC, continuing, of course, our Sony first party exclusives coming to PC, with The Last of Us coming at the beginning of March. So get stoked. There's even more coming. Let's keep her going because, of course, The Last of Us Part 1 has a massive sales jump with the HBO show. This is coming from BGC, written by Chris Scullion. The Last of Us Part 1 sales rise more than 230% in the UK after the TV show debut. According to GfK UK box game sales figures, the PS5 remake saw a surge in sales, rising 238% week on week. While The Last of Us Remastered, of course that's the PS4 version, also returned at number 32, seeing a similar surge of 322% sales week on week. So this is only physical, so we don't even know how much of an impact the digital sales have had, but of course it's cool to see that this, that the show is probably doing exactly what Sony hoped it would by making the games sell even more. Seth, what do you think about the sales jump? And of course, I'm curious to your thoughts as well about not just Part 1 selling, but the remastered PS4 version selling as well. Hit me with your thoughts.
That is interesting, right? I wonder, I don't know if that's just a symptom of the price difference. Like, if that's just like, hey, I could get, Last of Us Remastered or whatever for probably like nothing. They're basically giving it away at this point. Whereas if you look at the higher price tag of the remake, and I do wonder if that's kind of what it is, because I could see, like, if somebody's coming into the show for the first time and they want to play the game, the regular remaster is a really good, like, cheap way to kind of get into it.
Mm-hmm.
So I could definitely see that. But yeah, this is like the least surprising thing ever. This is exactly what it was always meant to do. It was always going to sell copies of that game, man. So yeah, this doesn't surprise me one bit, and it's going to continue as the show goes on, gets higher in popularity. So
Ryan,
it's cool.
Ryan, what do you think? Do you think that these will continue to climb? Do we think we cap out here? What are your thoughts and feelings?
Yeah, I mean, we saw this with a bunch of other TV show adaptations, like Cyberpunk, Netrunners, like The Witcher. So I imagine that it continues to go on. Also, to your point about the remaster, it's important to note that Last of Us Part 1 is only on PlayStation 5. Whereas the remaster obviously is PlayStation 4. So it might just be that there's probably lots of people watching the show that don't even have a PlayStation 5 and they want to play The Last of Us. So that's probably why you were seeing the remastered come up in price, not just the price tag as well, which also plays a lot into it too. Because like the difference between, $10 at a lot of places for the remaster versus, $89.99 Canadian for Part 1. It's like, it's definitely a bigger sell. Although, speaking of sales, not too long ago, Part 1 was actually on sale over the New Year holiday. So in theory, if the show would have come out a week earlier, people could have actually been able to capitalize on the fact that it was, $15 cheaper back then, or if people knew that they wanted to play it. But yeah, I think this is going to continue as they release new episodes. People are going to, continue to pick up the game, or even when people, check it out, even when all the episodes end, I still think it'll continue to at a higher pace than it would have been if this show didn't come out. So yes, 100%, this was the true strategy the whole time, despite the fact that we knew it didn't need a remake. So now, clearly, Matt, this just means there's correct justification for the Horizon Zero Dawn remake that we're going to get as well.
Yeah, you're probably right. And I mean, who knows? Maybe we'll get a nice God of War Ragnarok remaster alongside of that when the God of War series comes out. This to me isn't surprising whatsoever. Like, again, I'd also be curious to know the numbers of people who have re-downloaded the games, because I sure would be one of those numbers for somebody who just literally this morning re-downloaded Part 1 to kind of play along with the show. Because again, it's nice to see The Last of Us surging again. I would hope, and I'm kind of bring this in for a second, I would hope that we would get the Factions 2 announcement before the end of the show to kind of keep that hype train rolling. Ryan, do you think we're going to hear about Factions by the time the show is over, or do you think they're going to save that for like, an E3 thing to be like, hey, Last of Us was huge this year, get ready for Factions soon? What do you think?
I think it really just depends on how far along Factions actually is, because all we've seen is concept art. And they did mention last year when they showed us said concept art that they said, hey, by the way, you're to hear about this game more next year. So I don't know. I'm not as confident as other people are that this actually even comes out this year. That Factions 2 doesn't even come out this year.
Okay.
I think the only other release that from Last of Us we probably are getting to this year is the PC version. Because I think Factions might even slip into next year. Who knows at this point? So I think they'll definitely announce it at the end of the series if it's coming out this year. If that's kind of the target, if 2023 is still the target for Factions, but if it's not coming out till next year, then I don't imagine they announce it there, and then it becomes more of an E3 or later in the year state of play kind of thing.
Okay, I'm with you, Seth. What do you think?
They're gonna keep that gravy train rolling. I think. I don't think it's gonna like come out coinciding with the end of the show or
Right.
whatever. But I do think they're gonna want to drop like something, maybe like a trailer,
A beta?
or like something, something.
Yeah.
You know, like just any little breadcrumb at all to to keep people kind of on the hook. And I think too, you got to imagine they're probably gonna remake part 2 to coincide with season 2 or whatever, if there is one, right? Like you got to imagine that's on the table at this point. So yeah, I think they're just going to keep what is clear to me is that The Last of Us, if it wasn't already a big deal, it is now.
Yep.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like if it wasn't already one of PlayStation's biggest franchises, it certainly is now.
And of course, to coincide with that, we're going to hop over to another story because we missed this last week. So I wanted to just shout it out this week because coming from VGC, once again by Chris Scullion, a 2-hour trial of The Last of Us Part 1 is now on PS Plus Premium. Players can now play through the first 2 hours of the PS5 remake. Of course, if you're subscribed to the premium tier of PlayStation Plus. Again, this makes total sense. I mean, why not? People have been asking for it. It's a great opportunity if you're on premium to, hop in and take a look. Because I think playing through the first couple hours would sell a lot of people who may have been on the fence about, the remake as a whole. Does this do anything for either one of you? Would you hop in and take a look at the trial? Because I don't know if you guys have actually played part 1. Remind me. Ryan?
I have not played part 1 because
No,
I specifically mentioned on a previous podcast that it's just one of those things where The Last of Us was such a special playthrough the first time I played it that I never want to tarnish that playthrough and never want to go back and play it again. Like it's one of those games that it's so special to me that I don't feel like replaying it is something I will ever do because I know it's just not going to hit the same way. So that's the reason why I kind of held off. And I know I'm not the only one in that camp either. But at the same time, if I were going to want to do it, I think this is the perfect way to try it out before you buy it kind of thing. Right there on the store. So I'm glad that they did the trial thing. But yeah, for me personally, I'm kind of staying out of it. Even though I'm not gonna lie, part of me when watching the show last weekend, I was like, maybe I should get Last of Us Part 1. But no, we'll see. And also, I find it interesting because when you guys talked about how you want them to have something positioned when the show ends, but the way they have the release date currently set, the PC version of The Last of Us is going to launch when the show ends. So I don't know. In my mind, I feel like that's the thing that they promote more than Factions. Yeah. But anyways, Seth, what about you with part 1?
Yeah, I definitely want to play it at some point. I'm kind of with you, Ryan. I'm definitely like, because I have games like that too. Like Journey was that for me. I'm like, I'll never play Journey a second time. It's just never gonna happen. But I'm kind of with you. I think my time with that will come someday. I think that whenever they end up doing a part 2 remake, because I still haven't played part 2 either. So I think what it'll probably be for me is I'll pick up part 1 remake and part 2 remake and just play them like back to back.
Nice.
And just sort of be in that sad moment.
Just be in your sad vibes. I get you. Well, let us know in the comments if you're going to be checking it out on the PlayStation Plus Premium trial. Because, I mean, why not? Let's hop along to a piece of DLC that I'm very excited about because we got confirmation that Marvel's Midnight Suns is getting its first Deadpool DLC. This is written by Andy Robinson over on VGC because 2K has published the first trailer for Marvel's Midnight Suns, The Good, the Bad, and the Undead, which is out on January 26th. The add-on will introduce Deadpool as a recruitable hero, unique new abilities, and the opportunity to build friendship with him in the Abbey. New enemy types will also be introduced into the story missions, along with being able to develop Deadpool's unique research project, the food truck. So this is hitting January 26th. Of course, if you have the expansion pass, it's already coming. Did either one of you end up playing Midnight Suns?
Nope.
I have a copy of Midnight Suns that came with my new PC, but I have not booted it up yet.
Yeah,
So I will. I will at some point.
I think you'll like it, Ryan. Like this for me, I'm very, very excited. I was worried that it was going to be. It really bothers me when like the time between launch and like the first expansion pack or DLC piece of like substantial DLC is very long. I think this kind of like almost
Right.
like 2-month window is perfect. I cannot wait to hop into this. I'm so glad that we're getting new story content alongside it. I think they said there's going to be 3 new story missions. I just wanted to shout this out quick because of course I love this game. I cannot wait to mess around with Deadpool. And like if you're on Twitter, like the marketing that they've been pushing with Deadpool has just been fantastic. They completely like reused the trailer and just redubbed it and called themselves out in the trailer. Just brilliant stuff. It's so good. Seth, and any plans or do you care about Midnight Suns at all? Is this a game for you or what do you think?
Hearing you talk about it makes me want to play it. Like, I think I'll play it at some point. I definitely, there's sometimes when you're hanging out with people who really love something, it's infectious.
Yep.
I definitely do want to play it at some point. I'll probably grab it on a sale. But yeah, for sure.
Ryan, I can't wait. We have to sit down and have a talk once you're done with it on your brand new spanking PC. I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm just throwing it on the pile of games at this point,
Yep.
Matt, because I'll get to that eventually. And because I also saw the reviews for Forspoken today. I'm like, I kind of actually want to play that game now. So it's just like, there's more games,
with
Matt.
you.
There's more games, and then this is all just leading up to the release of the year that Seth and I are very excited about on PlayStation 4. Theatrhythm Final Fantasy coming out next month. Final bar line. So it's just there's so much stuff.
Bring it.
There's so much stuff. There's so much going on. Let's stay in the Marvel wheelhouse because we got confirmation. This is once again coming from Andy Robinson that Crystal Dynamics confirms the end of Marvel's Avengers later this year. The developer said it would publish its final update on March 31st, 2023. In a blog published on Friday, the developer said it would publish its final update on March 31st and end all official support on September 30th. However, after September 30th, single and multiplayer gameplay will continue to be available, the developer said. I do believe that they also went on to confirm that
the marketplace stuff is free because it is.
Exactly, yeah. Along with the end of development, we'll also be turning off the cosmetics marketplace when Update 2.8 launches on March 31st. Credits will no longer be purchasable, and all of the marketplace stuff will be free. All of the costumes and everything will be free for players to hop in and check out. But guys, I was curious to your thoughts and feelings on this because this to me feels like a massive a missed opportunity for a IP that's huge right now for a game to fumble in this way. Ryan, what do you think about them finally confirming that Marvel's Avengers is dead?
So first off, this isn't really a surprise after we learned that Crystal Dynamics was purchased by, THQ Nordic, and Embracer Group. We knew, support on this game wasn't going to continue forever. They weren't going to just freelance, another or bring in another studio to do this. Like once they sold them, I knew in my heart, it's like, okay, Adventures is like the end is in the eye for Avengers at this point. So yeah, this news doesn't really surprise me. What the most surprising thing about this story is the fact that they're actually keeping the multiplayer on. Because a lot of times when licensed games like this get delisted, if they had a multiplayer component, they just usually cut ties with the servers after they delist the game, and then you're not even really able to play it. So I am glad that rather than going in and kind of patching the multiplayer stuff out, they're just allowing you to continue to play it beyond, the September 30th release date. And by the way, folks, if you actually want to get this game, make sure you get it before it gets delisted. Because I actually think if you haven't played it before, I actually think Marvel's Avengers is actually a pretty fun game. I really, even just for the single player campaign, because I thought the single player campaign was excellent. It was really well done. Like I loved playing it as Miss Marvel and kind of seeing like her journey, joining the Avengers, and just that whole story the way that story played out, the way the characters interacted with each other. Like I really enjoyed Marvel's Avengers a lot, and it was mostly just the live servicey stuff that killed it for me. So. I am excited that we are still able to play it, but this news does not surprise me at all.
Seth, what about you? How do you feel?
Yeah, I'm right there with you. I'm not surprised by it. I played the demo or beta or whatever before the game came out, and I thought it was fine. Like it didn't really, hook me or anything like that. I was like, this is it's like aggressively okay. Like this is the most okay game I've ever played. It just felt very like right down the middle. It's not bad, it's not great. That was just sort of how I felt about it after playing the demo. It's possible that I would like it more if I had played through the campaign or something like that. But yeah, it just never really grabbed me, and so I sort of bounced off of it pretty quickly. But I've heard friends say kind of what Ryan is saying, like I've heard people say like, oh no, like the story is actually quite good. So it's unfortunate. I know there are people who love the game. But yeah, to their credit, like making the cosmetics, free, it seems cool.
Mhm.
It seems like a good move, and then keeping the multiplayer on, like that's consumer friendly,
Yep.
right? Like all things considered, like making lemonade out of the lemons, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm with you, and like I'm with you, Ryan, as well, because like I really did enjoy the single player. Like I obviously wanted a lot more from this game as a whole, but the single player story was a lot of fun. It was, a lot of the missions were great. It was a really good time. I do really find it cool that they are making the marketplace free. That actually, I may actually end up re-downloading it and hopping back in after that update rolls through, just to play some missions again with some of the costumes that I obviously just didn't want to spend a truckload of money on because they were expensive. So this actually makes me more likely to hop in and check out to play more of the game, because I played all the expansions and stuff as they happened. I do know that there's a lot of people who are disappointed by the fact that we aren't getting any more heroes and stuff, and especially after the last couple of heroes were very much echo characters, despite the protests that they weren't. They by all accounts they very much were.
I mean, Winter Soldier was literally just Captain America in a different costume.
and similarly with Jane Foster's Thor, right? Like it was it was literally just Thor again. So for me, like I just feel like this is an incredible, like despite what it was, I really enjoyed it for what it was, but just the fact that this didn't become an ultra mega success, the fact that there wasn't a whole ecosystem built around this game is a really, I want to see the Jason Schreier Blood, Sweat and Pixels Avengers version a couple years down the line, just to see what exactly went wrong with this game, because again, like it just seems like such a huge missed opportunity, one of the ones I would argue probably biggest in gaming, at least in recent memory. So.
Yeah, it really sounds like it. Again, when you play through the game, it really feels like at one point this was a traditional Crystal Dynamics game like Tomb Raider or something like that. And then they had to switch it, towards the end of the game to just being a live service game. And then it feels like all the live service stuff is what was rushed. Because honestly, I think if they just would have left it as a $60, standard Crystal Dynamics, Tomb Raider style game, but with the Avengers, I think they would have had a slam dunk of a game. Yep. But it's because they brought in a lot of that stuff at the last minute, because they, like, Square Enix is definitely the type of company that likes to chase market trends. I mean, it's the same reason why they're still making NFT games at this point. So that like they're the company that likes to do that. So it's no surprise as to why they wanted to chase the market trend of the games as service thing. But I think more than anything, that's what made the game such a disappointment.
Yep, I'm with you.
And I also look at, it's funny too, and I think you're dead on, Ryan, with that, because I think it does smack of like publisher meddling. Like, we gotta have live service stuff in there, man. This has gotta follow the trends. This has gotta make us money. But then I look at something like Guardians of the Galaxy, which is a much more sort of traditional model and was, I think, much more successful in that regard. So and at least critically anyway, people like really like that game. So yeah, I think that definitely, I think it was just a miss. It was a fumbling of the ball,
Yeah, it really was. But we'll see. Let's quickly, before we get into the questions, I'm going to just quickly pop over to OpenCritic, because I do want to have a quick convo about Forspoken, because of course the reviews have hit today. We're sitting at about a 69 for the top critic average. IGN gave it a 6 out of 10. Eurogamer gave no recommendation, and it went from like anywhere from like a 2.5 on the lowest end to a 9.5 on the highest end. So I wanted to kind of quickly touch base here and check in your hype level. Are you still excited for Forspoken? Are you going to be checking it out? Because a lot of the reviews seem to say that like the gameplay itself is a lot of fun, and like using the magic and using the parkour is a great time. It's just that the constant banter, by a lot of accounts, the performance of them, the main voice actor, and just the kind of general story seem to fall apart. But how are you feeling about Forspoken after we've gotten these reviews, Ryan? What do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I'm in the camp where I'm actually more curious to try this game than I was before, because of like seeing the people that love it versus the people that hate it. Like, it's a very polarizing game. Just like, but this brings me back to the PS3 days where Beyond Two Souls came out from Quantic Dream, and it was a game in a very similar situation where it also had a very similar Metacritic rating of like a high 60s, low 70s. But then when you look at the actual reviews, like either they're like way up here, like they're super high, or they're very low, and there's like not a lot of middle ground between. So like it almost sounds like I want to try it purely for the chance that I'll love. If I love this game, I'm gonna really love this game by the sound of it. So yes, even and not only that too, but I'm also the type of person who loves fantastic combat in video games, especially fantastic action combat that's fast paced. And it does sound like from the reviews that it definitely nails that.
Yep.
And I don't care as much about the story. So honestly, I kind of want to try this out more than I did before after, checking out some of the reviews. So I'm actually excited. I may actually play this game. Whereas before I was on the fence after the demo, but now I'm like, okay, I think I need to kind of check this one out.
There you go. Seth, what about you?
I'm actually kind of right there with you, Ryan. I love a good 6 out of 10, a good 7 out of 10. Like I love that. Like not everything has to be The Last of Us,
100%.
Not everything has to like change my life. You know what I mean? Like sometimes it's fun to just play a little, fun little romp or something. Like I'm a huge fan of the No More Heroes series, and those get reviews very similar to this, like kind of 6, 7 out of 10, kind of mode. As long as the game's fun, like I'm into it. I don't know if it's something I'm gonna rush out and buy day one or whatever, because there's so much other stuff to play. But yeah, if I see it on a sale or something like that, I could totally see myself picking it up. I played the demo and I wasn't like super in love with the combat and the movement and stuff in the demo. Or just the general like feel of it, but it's possible that like once you get deeper into it, things kind of click or something in the full game. So I definitely I'm right there with you, Ryan. I'm more interested in it now to see the if there is such a disparity of opinion, that means that something interesting is in the middle of it. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
absolutely.
I'm with you guys. Like I'm curious to check it out. Like I was always excited for it. I think the demo kind of soured me a little bit more just because I feel like it was just a very overwhelming experience. They kind of tossed you into the middle of things without much explanation as to how to use what you have. So I think the demo actually ended up being more of a bad thing than a good for a lot of people. But again, like I want to celebrate a new IP. I do like, again, like the magic combat similar to Ryan. If it's like a fun, fast paced, magic, fantastical, piece of combat, then I'm more inclined to check it out. I think it has kind of dropped to a wait for sale for me, but I do see myself playing this game at some point in the next little while because it does look like fun. I'll give it that much. And I'm curious to see how that parkour really comes together and stuff because, it looks cool. It looks fun. It looks like it has like a really cool flow to it. So we'll see.
Yeah, and it's important to note as well, and I think this kind of plays into at least Matt and I definitely being more in the wait and sale for sale camp, because this is the very first game in Canada to be $93 in Canada. Because
I did not realize.
We've talked about it on other podcasts before, but yeah, in Canada, prices on games are already went up by $10 when they went up to $69.99 in the States. But then we started to see prices go up on even more by about $5 or even $10 on games above that. And Forspoken is the first of those games. Atomic Heart's another one that's like that here. Dead Island 2 is actually $99 Canadian for the base version. So we are definitely getting there with some of these games. So it's important to note that plays into a little bit of our decision as well, at least from me and Matt, since we do live in Canada.
Yep.
And then especially with tax on top of that too, like that's $115, $120 game.
Nice. Yep. Goes up quick. That's a great shout out, Ryan, because yes, gaming in Canada can be pretty expensive, especially on next gen. But my friends, we have a bunch of questions to get to, so let's hop on over and let some of our friends into the car to join us. And of course, if you want your questions read on the show, let us know on Twitter when the Twitter post goes live. Let us know in the Discord, which is free to join. All of that is in the notes below, so come hang out with us. Of course, I'm going to start with the Discord. We'll start with a question from, I don't really know who this guy is, but I think his name is Court Lalonde. Asks, will you guys be able to go a whole episode without talking about a JRPG?
We talked about a JRPG in the literally like first 30 seconds of this show.
Yep.
Of course.
Quite literally. But in all seriousness, Court asks, hypothetically here, PlayStation gets the rights to the next TMNT game. Which first-party developer do they give it to, and what type of game is it? Ryan, what do we need a first-party PlayStation TMNT to look like?
I am going to be very surprising here, and I'm going to say they should give it to Housemark. And then Housemark can make a very arcadey style, for like third-person action game with the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. I think it would be super fun. I would probably prefer it more than something like Insomniac or, Guerrilla's take on TMNT. Like I think when I think about Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles games and what I want for them, I want more of an arcadey experience and less of something like super serious. And I think Housemark, out of all of PlayStation's first-party studios, does that the best. So I would love to see a Housemark take on TMNT and what kind of wacky things they could do with it. And also, it's got to be brutally difficult because, of course, it's a Housemark game. So that's just how that works.
I think Housemark is a really interesting answer because they're very good at like the very fast-paced action. You know what I mean? Like the things move and flow very, very quickly in a Housemark game. I like that answer. Seth, what do you think?
I love that answer. Yeah, I mean, like, it's hard not to. The boring would be like, Insomniac or Sucker Punch making an open world TMNT game. Like, on paper, that sounds great, right? But to Ryan's point, I agree. I sort of feel like TMNT should be fast and fun and arcadey. I don't necessarily want it to be like grimdark, like the sort of like Arkham version of TMNT. I don't really want that. You know what I mean?
That's what happened
like,
with Mutants in Manhattan, the Activision one that came out pretty recently.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And so I think I'm kind of with you in terms of like what developers. I think it actually would be kind of interesting to let a Sucker Punch or a bigger studio tackle a project of that scale versus some big open world checkbox towers kind of thing. It would be kind of cool to let them do a TMNT game kind of on the side. Like if you got an Insomniac TMNT game that is kind of the scale that Ryan's talking about, with the polish and the sort of flavor they bring to Spider-Man, Ratchet, whatever, it'd be kind of fun. I could definitely see that.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the boring answer because I am gonna go with Sucker Punch. I think like if you gave me Infamous but TMNT, not to that like level of serious that Infamous can hit, but just like a zany open world superhero action adventure game that stars the Turtles, I think would be awesome. I would even possibly even say Bend. Like again, if they were kind of given the free reign to be as wacky and zany as they wanted to, like I think I'd like the Days Gone open world did have some interesting parts to it. And again, like I wouldn't want them to, go full dark, dark grim either. But I think Ben could actually do something with that IP as well that could be kind of interesting and cool. So I don't know. I think like an open world zany action adventure game with the Turtles would be a lot of fun. Or, of course, give us Quantic Dream doing a story-based TMNT pizza delivery game, and I'm in.
Yes. All about that.
With
Casey
so many
Jones
choices.
Quantic
Exactly.
Dream. Yes.
Do you deliver the pizza?
Oh my
Do you
gosh.
eat the pizza? Do you take the pizza to the sewers? So many branching story options. Or, of course, Blue Box. I don't think anything more needs to be said.
Why did we think of anything else? I mean, Matt, I can't believe that you didn't, pick Abandon in Fantasy Critic this year. I can't believe that wasn't a thing.
I didn't want to just win, dude. If I picked Abandon, it would have been over. I would have won the year again, right from the outset.
That's true.
That's 100.
That's 100. Like everybody would have counterpicked me. Everybody would have been minus 30 points. It wouldn't have been fun for anyone. So I had to level the playing field a bit, Ryan.
Thank you.
Of course.
Yeah, you're welcome.
In retrospect, thank you.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Nagachaka in the Discord asks, a developer from the Dead Space remake said that he can't play the game at nighttime with headphones. So the question is, how will you guys be playing the remake? Lights on during the day or challenge accepted and with headphones at nighttime? Seth, what do you think? Are you playing Dead Space remake? And if so, how are you playing it?
I do want to play it. I love Dead Space. The first Dead Space is my favorite survival horror game of all time. I love that game, and I'm really interested in playing this one. I hope that they've done a good job with it. I'm a little worried about some of the stuff that I've seen with it, like Isaac talking and like upgrading and like all these like, I guess they're adding like side missions to it. Just reading previews, I'm a little bit worried. I'm like, don't touch it too much. I kind of just want it to be what was there but prettier. So we'll see. I do want to play it, and like how I'm gonna play it, it's just gonna be whenever I have time. Just like with any game, like I don't light candles, make a whole ritual. I'm gonna get it in where I can fit it in, man.
Yeah.
Ryan, what about you?
And that's where the show went off the rails. 49 minutes into the episode, it's all over but the crying.
Ryan, what about you? How are you playing Dead Space Remake, and if so, how?
Yeah, so as I mentioned a little bit earlier, Dead Space is one of my favorite all-time games. So I am 100% in on the remake. I'm literally going to be wearing these PlayStation headphones while
Dude,
playing
I thought
it
he was about
with.
to pull an Isaac
I
Clarke
thought so
mask
too.
out.
Yeah, like a full suit. That's just gonna be
I
like.
put this mask on to shield me from the necromorphs. No, so I'm going to be, playing in the dark with my PlayStation headphones on, with like I've got like a little LED light on my desk with like a Danganronpa character on it. I'll just set that to red, so the entire room has like a red
Nice.
hue to it while playing a horror game, because I like to do that when playing horror games. So yes, I love the fact that he said that, because I'm like, that just makes me want to play it in the dark with headphones more,
There you go.
if I'm being honest.
Yeah, no, I'm kind of gonna try. Like, I've never played Dead Space, so I'm actually very excited for the remake to be able to experience the game. And it's looking pretty cool. Similarly to Ryan, I'm also gonna be wearing my Dead Space remake mask. And obviously, with the added sunglasses to just make things even darker. And yeah, no, I am gonna try playing it, as intended, with headphones on and spooky vibes. But similar to Seth, I'm gonna get it in where I can fit it in. Wherever there's time is going to be Dead Space time. Let's move over to a bunch of questions that we have. Oh, wait, we have one more, sorry, from the Discord. Bowz asks, will my PS5 be super valuable someday if I have the abandoned app on it?
I mean, 100%. That 110%. You better believe it's going to be. No, it's not going to be worth any money.
Look
But
what happened to PT.
we can dream. We can dream. The abandoned app. Got to get that 30-second trailer in there.
Listen, can you really put a price on perfection, on just such mastery achieved in such few seconds? I think, Bowza, that is invaluable. I think you should keep that forever. I think you should pass that down to your children and your children's children, so that everybody will remember how glorious what that teaser was, and just, it needs to be saved. It needs to be preserved. Video game preservation is important, guys, and it all starts with Abandoned. Let's jump over to some of our Twitter questions, because Bobby Miller asks, at Smooth423, do you think games will be made better if review scores actually hurt the bottom line? Is it better to buy a game day one or wait for it to go on sale? So let's start with the first question. Do you think games would be made better, as in like developed better, if review scores actually hurt the bottom line? I'll hop on in this one quick, because they actually do hurt the devs. There's a lot of bonus incentives that are tied to as specific as a Metacritic or an OpenCritic for a lot of different developers, where if they don't hit a 90, then they're not going to get as much of a bonus, or they're not going to get, as much money as they would as employees, as developers of the game. Of course, I imagine it hits the studio over as a whole as well, but they very, like, the review scores do genuinely matter to a lot of different developers. The issue is that so often it's out of the devs' hands as to whether the quality of the game is the way that they want it to be by the time that it ships, or by the time that it's made to come out, right? Publishers and deadlines are a very real thing, and a lot of the times developers know exactly what's wrong with their game when it's coming out, and they just either didn't have the time, or through mismanagement, or through differences in leadership, they don't really have a choice. So I think that this question is an interesting one, because they already hurt the bottom line. They already, tank sales. I think that reviews shouldn't be as big of a part of the developers, takeaway at the end of the day as they are now. And that's, widely reported. That is a thing. Ryan, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, you're spot on with that point. And I was going to say the same thing. I really think, it already hurts the bottom line, especially with sales, because we've seen that with, other games that have come out that people were excited about. They saw the reviews and then they bailed. Valkyrie Elysium was one of them from last year, where people were actually excited about it either from the demo or from the trailer at the State of Play. And then when the reviews came out, they're like, oh, nope. And then the game didn't sell well. Mm-hmm. So I think a lot of that plays into it. Although on the other side of things, if there's a mega franchise or a franchise that people are really well connected to, The review scores don't really hurt the bottom line. Pokemon is, of course, the biggest example. I will point to that, where Pokemon, yes, even though I know Seth and I both find that there is some fun in Pokemon, despite the jankiness of the game. Honestly, it really should not have. It's one of those things where the reviews probably should have hurt that game.
Yep.
More than they did. But for the most part, I would say you're right. It definitely already hurts the bottom line. So that's kind of a moot point at this point.
Yep. Seth, what do you think?
Nobody wants to make a bad game. And they I don't think there's ever like an intentionality behind a game coming out and reviewing poorly. I think you're exactly right with what both of you guys have said. Like it is always because of things like budget limitations, because of publisher meddling or whatever, release scheduling, whatever the case may be. If everybody had infinite time and infinite budget, every game would be good. You know what I mean? Like that's just it. It's not a question of that. And I do think that there's a little bit too much stock put into like review scores. How's this game going to wind up on Metacritic? You saw this with, we were talking about Forspoken. There are people like Ryan and I who are more interested actually when we read the sort of division, like, oh, hey, there's something kind of interesting in here. We can have deeper conversations about games than this is a 6 out of 10 or this is a 9 out of 10 or whatever. And it is unfortunate that things like bonuses and potential layoffs or whatever are tied to, like, we've heard reports like, hey, like literally you get a bonus if this gets like above an 85 on Metacritic or whatever, and you get another bonus if it's above a 90, whatever the case may be. And I think that's super unfortunate.
Yep, I'm with you guys. Robbie Bobby Selig, second question was, is it better to buy a game day one, or is it better to wait for it on sale? Seth, I'll come back around to you.
I think do what makes sense to you, at the end of the day. I think whatever makes sense to you, your time, your budget. Look, games are expensive, and it's an expensive hobby, and everybody's in a different station in their life financially. What $60-$70 means to me is going to mean something different to somebody else. So do whatever you want, do what makes sense to you at the end of the day. I think obviously, the way you're going to sort of help the game the most is if you're buying it, day one, full price or whatever. But at the end of the day, you have to do what makes sense to you. Your sale is not going to be the thing that makes or breaks the company.
Yep.
You know what I mean? So at the end of the day, you have to just video games are a hobby, and it is a premium, it is a leisure, it is it's an extraordinarily privileged position that we are in to be able to afford and play all these games and stuff. And I think it's important to keep sight of that, and look, just do what makes sense to you, man.
Yep. Ryan?
Yeah, you do you. That's my motto. Just like, I'm the type of person that you probably don't want to be, where I, get a lot of games day one because I'm just excited about them, or because that just happens to work well in my cycle of games that we're reviewing here, or just my own play patterns. But obviously, if a game doesn't really fit in that, like Forspoken, for example, is one of those games where the only reason I probably am not day one on it is because there is so much stuff coming out around it. Otherwise, I might have picked it up right away. But we'll see.
Yeah, I think you both kind of hit the nail on the head. It's just it really depends on your personal position. How do you feel about a certain game coming out? Like, I ran at Digimon Survive the first day it came out because, again, I wanted to support, and it's a game I really looked forward to. That's not a choice for everyone, right? Games are, we have so many games coming out at such a clip that it's hard to be able to pick up everything day one, and it's kind of like, for me, it's like with some games, like I want to be part of the zeitgeist. I want to be part of that moment that some games have. Like, even if it's a game that I'm not really 100% in on, like Elden Ring, for example, I wanted to hop in day one because I was able to, at the time, be able to spend the money and jump in and be part of the conversation. But that isn't like that for everyone. So it really comes to, if you find reviewers that you trust and that you like, and that they can kind of help influence your decision. If it's just a game you're very excited about, then whatever, forget reviewers. Just do what makes you happy. Because at the end of the day, nobody else has to play the game but you, right? And if that's going to be 8 to 10 hours of you hating it just because you want to jump in, or if it's going to be 8 to 10 hours that you're going to enjoy, or whatever else, it's, I think it really depends on the person. Some people wait literal years before they hop in on a game that's just come out. It all depends on who you are. Josh O'Neill at @RealDeal_J O'Neill asks, I was curious about how you feel about morality meters in games. I know we all loved Infamous, and with Hogwarts Legacy set to have a good and evil path, do you want more games with that feature? If so, which do you usually play first, Ryan?
Well, I mean, I'm the good-hearted soul that everyone knows. So of course I play the evil path every single time. First, that is always my, default play style when I have a morality system, because honestly, I think it's more fun to play the bad guy because you don't get to do it nearly as often because you get to be the good guy in almost every game.
Mhm.
So of course I want to go in there and nuke Megaton, or
Oh my
use
God.
the Force to persuade this woman who just lost her husband to give me all of her valuable possessions at this point, because I'm just a master of the dark side of the Force. I mean, it's just fun to be evil in games, when as a kind of like a break from being every story of you being the good guy. So I kind of like that aspect of it, and that's because people ask me all the time, Ryan, why would you want to play evil in that game? That's why, because it's a different take on that experience. So that's usually what I gravitate towards first. And I like morality systems in games. I just don't like when it feels tacked on and you're making choices just for the sake of making choices with no extra benefit in any way. Like the main reason why I like the choices in, something like Knights of the Old Republic is because it totally changes the way that game plays. Because then as you lean towards the dark side, for example, you have access to those powers, and you have to make sure that you do enough evil things to then be able to get to the more like powerful evil abilities, even though that locks you out of some of the light side abilities that would be useful. So I kind of like that push and pull that's in there with those games. So yes, I like to see it there when it's really well implemented.
Seth, what about you?
Yeah, I'm right there with Ryan, except for I typically go for the good guy playthrough first, but I do like to circle back around and just go, as evil as possible, have fun with it, see how much we can break it. And to Ryan's point too, I'm glad that Ryan brought up KOTOR specifically, because that was exactly the reference I was going to make. KOTOR is such a great example of how you do this well. Still like one of my favorite examples of morality in games. And like there are moments that are burned into my brain from the evil playthrough of KOTOR. Like the I won't retroactively spoil like a 20-year-old game or however old it is, but it's the moment towards the end of the evil playthrough with Mission and Zalbar is still one of the most heartbreaking things I've ever seen in any media, and I still think about it all the time. So like I love it when a game can like really play with that, where I'm just like, oh, I'm being evil for this evil playthrough, but I hate myself for what I'm doing right now. So
I get that. Yeah, I love morality systems in games, like, but as Ryan said, as long as it feels integral to the experience, like if you're getting different abilities, if it's changing the way the story outcomes, if there's actual reasons to have that morality system, I absolutely adore it. I would like to see it in more games. I always end up going the good guy, like, route first as well. And like, I've always think about going back, I'm going to do the bad guy. And then I'll start some games and get to the choices. And I'm like, but I can't make that choice. I get like caught up in my own, mind before I actually, before I can actually click the button. I think about a big part of that is it depends on the game and it depends on the world around it as well. But yeah, no, I love a good morality system. I usually go good. And then like, I keep being like, oh, I'm going to go bad this time. And then I never do. Ever.
Well, the funny thing you say about that, Matt, because it brought this flooding back to me, is like sometimes, like likewise, I'll try and go through the good guy playthrough, and then like halfway through, I'm like, oh, this evil choice, it looks so satisfying. And then I get tempted, and then once I do it once, it's all over. I'm just back down the evil rabbit hole because I can't control myself at that point. I'm like, yes, okay, let's do all the evil things, especially because in some games there's actually a lot of positives for doing the evil things. When playing through the evil playthrough. Again, like KOTOR is a good example of that, but even something like Infamous, you get a lot, like Infamous had like a lot of great abilities that you only had access to on the evil side, or you got like certain resources a lot easier by playing evil. So
yeah,
it's just interesting to think about.
there you go.
and isn't it also, just real quick, I just want to say too, it makes it all the more disappointing when you're given a moral choice in a game and it isn't done well.
Yeah.
Like, and it's kind of like, I love BioShock, one of my favorite games of all time, but the morality in that game is, in my opinion, not handled well. Like, you wind up, it's actually better that like the trade-off of like Adam versus the plasmids you get and the amount of Adam you get actually winds up being like pretty evenly keeled, and you get like exclusive plasmids on the good route, which is like, you know, it's kind of like not even a question of like which way you should go. So when it's not handled well, it's like super disappointing to me.
Okay,
So
I get you. Our final question, or a second final question, coming from Sumit Roy at Black Wyver, asks, since God of War Ragnarok has done so well and the TV show is on the way, do you reckon Sony will remake the first 3 God of Wars? They seem to be doing that a lot with other games ahead of the live-action releases. For example, the Uncharted Legacy Collection, The Last of Us Part 1, and Horizon Zero Dawn being rumored to be on the way. So do you think we're going to get remakes of the first 3 God of Wars? Ryan, what do you think?
Nope, because they're going to remake God of War 2018 instead.
yeah.
I mean, it only came out a year later than Horizon, and they're remaking that.
Yep.
Like, I don't see a reason why, if that's the tactic that somebody's going for, they're going to do that, especially because, like, it'd be different if the show really is more about the Greece side of God of War versus the Norse side of things. Because then at that point, of course, you make you should go back and do the first 3 games rather than 2018. But if it is just gonna skip to the Norse setting right away and then kind of do flashbacks to the Greece stuff, then no, they will remake God of War 2018 and we will like it.
Yep.
That's just how that'll be.
Seth, what do you think?
Agreed. And not only do I think they won't, I think that if they did, it would retroactively make God of War 2018 worse. So much of what I love about God of War 2018 is that they don't let Kratos get away with his past, right? And like that's such a huge part of it. I don't want them to go back and meddle with the past that he's having to reconcile for in this current kind of phase of God of War. So like I not only do I not think they will, I don't think they should. If anything, maybe they'll do something where they I also don't even know how interested the audience would be in that. Like if they just even ported 1 through 3 on PS5 or whatever, like would people super care? Like to me, the new series is way more successful critically than the old one was. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I like that Matt's pointing, because him and I have had this conversation before. I personally actually prefer God of War 1 through 3 versus 2018 or Ragnarok. Like I really enjoyed those games a lot. So, and a lot of it just has to comes down to the way that game plays, versus the gameplay style of 2018. But, so I would actually be excited about that, but at the same time, I know if they remade it, they'd probably remake it in the current God of War style, and it would make me very sad. Because that's not what like someone like me would actually want.
Yeah, I think God of War is an interesting example just because we already have confirmation from Amazon that they are going to be basing it off of 2018's God of War. We know that that's the blueprint. So for me, similarly to like what Seth was saying, it would almost seem like a step backwards to bring back the originals just because they don't seem super necessary anymore. I think Ryan, half joking aside, like I think we are closer to seeing something being redone with 2018's God of War than we would be to see the first 3 games come back. Now, does that mean we may see them, I can't remember if they are or if they're not on PlayStation Plus already, but hitting that premium tier if they're not there already or whatever else, I can see definitely that being an avenue, or possibly bringing them to PC. I could see that being a potential, but I can't really see them going full board into, remaking those games from the ground up. A remaster is something I think is a possibility, but in terms of like a full out remake, I doubt it.
Well, we already have the remake of God of War 3 on PlayStation 4 as well. So I mean, it would really just be the first 2 games that they'd have to bring over. And then at that point, you'd like have to bring up Ghost of Sparta from the PSP and stuff. And I don't see them doing that. Now, real talk, Matt, before you move on. When are we getting the remake of Gran Turismo 6 to coincide with the Gran Turismo movie? Because that was the last Gran Turismo game before Gran Turismo 7. When's that remake coming? What's going on with that?
Actually, if you go back and rewatch the Abandoned teaser, it actually has the release date for Gran Turismo 6 in the teaser hidden.
Okay.
Yeah.
I just wasn't paying attention.
No, you weren't.
Frame by frame.
Yeah, you have to actually watch it with PSVR on. That actually makes the experience even better. And Steve Vigvari at S Vigvari writes in and says, not a question, but I think the both of you should eat cordyceps on the next episode. I won't be here next week, so have fun eating cordyceps. Have fun eating those on the next week. And of course, we have to round out with our question of the show, our question of the week. Last week, we asked, what is your favorite trophy that you're most proud of from playing on PlayStation? Dan from Canada wrote in saying probably skill-wise, the Bloodborne Platinum. The Child's Dungeon with half health and beefed up amygdala was the dumbest, hardest thing I've ever done in a game, with the close runner-up being the Returnal Platinum. Nagachaka says the one I'm most proud of is the Platinum for Final Fantasy VII Remake. Beating the game on the hardest difficulty, the Pride and Joy Super boss fight, and the pull-up battle were brutal. However, overcoming these challenges made the experience rewarding and unforgettable. Savoy Prime says definitely the Platinum on Elden Ring. I know some hardcore FromSoft fans have referred to it as an easy FromSoft game, but for someone who purposely stayed away from their games, it was quite the accomplishment for me. I absolutely love the game and love the challenge. I originally didn't have the intention to go for the Platinum. I just wanted to beat it, but the more I played it, the more I wanted to see if I could. Not sure I'll ever feel more satisfied getting a Platinum trophy again like I did in Elden Ring. Let's see if there was any other submissions just flying down the list here. I think that was all of the ones that we had from that one, but I'll open the questions up. Oh, here we go. Drella, said, I think the Platinums I'm most proud of are Persona 4 and The Witcher 3 because they hold a special place in my heart. Little Deviants was also his first ever Vita game. So there you go. Ryan, is there a trophy that you're most proud of on PlayStation?
Honestly, I gotta give it the shout out to my first ever Platinum trophy, Matt, which was in the PlayStation 4 era, and that was Diablo 3 Ultimate Evil Edition. Nice. I really enjoyed Diablo 3 a lot, and it was a blast going through and getting the Platinum trophy. Yes, it takes about 150 hours to get the Platinum in that game.
Yep.
But man, it was so much fun to do. And I just, of course, just love Diablo. I'm so excited for Diablo 4 this summer.
Mm-hmm.
So I got to give it to that. That's probably the trophy I'm most proud of, and also the one I enjoyed getting it the most. So Diablo 3.
Nice. Seth, is there a particular trophy or achievement or anything that you're most proud of?
There's a couple of them. I'm actually just looking. So people don't know this about me. I was in the PS3, PS4 era. I was huge into PlayStation. I was huge into Platinums. I have 77 Platinums.
Dang.
And I was big into this. So I also have the Platinum Ultimate Evil Edition, and I'm right there with you, Ryan. I loved that game so much, and I just didn't want to stop playing it. I have the Platinum in Bloodborne. I totally agree with that. I think I think I'm gonna go with Assassin's Creed Odyssey is a long haul for that Platinum. I would probably go with that, barring those other two answers. And also Kingdom Hearts 3 is a pretty long road to hoe with that Platinum. And I have both of those too.
Nice. Yeah, I'm not really a trophy hunter or a Platinum chaser, but for me, I know it's an easy one, but the Marvel Spider-Man Platinum trophy is just one of my favorites. I just had so much fun with that game, and for that big game being as good as it was, being a Spider-Man game was something that, I've literally platinumed it multiple times across the different, across PS4 and PS5, just because I love it so much. So yeah, let us know. For a question of the week this week, I want to know, what era of PlayStation is your favorite thus far? Are we talking PS1, PS2, PS3, PS4, PS5, the Vita, the PSP, whatever, but what era of PlayStation is your favorite so far? So not just console, but the exclusives, everything around that. Let us know what era of PlayStation is your favorite thus far. And that brings us to the end of this supersized episode of the PlayStation Drive. Ryan and Seth, thank you both for joining me at this, thanks for running with us as we did all the wonderful conversations. Ryan, if people want to see and hear more from you, where could they do so?
Oh, they can do so. First of all, thank you so much for having me on the show, Matt, by the way. And it was, of course, always a pleasure podcasting with Seth as well, because you won't get to do that very often. You can find me on Twitter at Ryan Turford. And you also find me on the RPG Cave with Mr. Garrett Bland. We're doing an episode tonight where we're going to be pitching licensed games that would make really good RPGs. And the thumbnail has Alf and Tommy Wiseau and Slimer on it. So get ready for an interesting show tonight, as well as the Xbox Drive every Wednesday with Sean Capri. So you can check me out on both those places.
Go check Ryan out on all the places. And Seth, what about yourself?
You can find me also on Twitter. Pull up your browser, type in http://twitter.com/$2hero. And you can find me here on Carpool Gaming, the Nintendo Drive post show. And yeah, man, this is where you need to be.
This is exactly where you need to be. As for myself, you can find me on Twitter at Matt_SilverSoul. And of course, you can find me here on the PlayStation Drive. Episode 2 of our Last of Us recap episode will be up very, very soon. So if you're listening to this, if you're watching live, it'll be up in the next couple hours. If you're not, go back and check it out. Of course, we have a watch-along series going where Seth and I really dug deep into this week's episode, and it was a fantastic time, everyone. I won't be here next week, but Court will be, and I'll be back in a couple weeks. Everybody, stay safe, have fun, and we'll see you next time. Peace. Oh, hold on. Wait, I'm a big old liar because I also got to read out Patreon. Sorry, hold on. We got an updated Patreon list, so I want to make sure I get that in. Wait. Here we go. Patreon. Ultimate producers, a huge thank you to all of our patrons. We appreciate all of you very, very much. Especially our ultimate producers, Robbie Bobby Miller. Subscribe to Robbie Bobby's Twitch channel at twitch.tv/Robbie Bobby Miller. Trucker Sloth, Tony Baker from Quest 4 Pixels. Please subscribe to youtube.com/Quest 4 Pixels today. Jonathan Brown, the new album from PME is called Video Game Boy and is available on Spotify and Apple Music. Lee Navarro, the fearless leader of the Phoenix Overdrive Extra Life team. Links are in the show notes. Please support these ultimate producers. Of course, our platinum producers, Marcus McCracken and RJ Kern, and our gold members, Anna, Bauza, Cecily Carosa, Dallas Robbins, Drellish, Emily O'Kelly, Foolish Fuji, Jonas Young, Jose Jimenez, Marcus O'Neill, and Tim Paulin, and a special thanks to Bauza for upgrading to the gold member tier. Now, real, for real. We'll see you next time. Peace.